Well, hi everyone. I'm here today with Ali Khairuddin, and we're very excited to have this conversation. Ali, I know you've got so much incredible information to share about women's health, and you've been a women's health expert for lots and lots of years now. So, what I'd love to do is start right at the beginning in terms of your journey in the health and fitness industry. When did you get started? What made you be so passionate about helping not just other women, but other men as well in their own fitness and health journeys?
Let me see. I wasn't in the health industry. I'd always been the person who was, weightlifting. I think I was the first teenage girl in the whole of Malaysia with my sister that started holding a dumbbell because my dad was that person who was the first man who was running marathons. He had like weightlifting stuff in his garden in the 70s. People thought he was the crazy man down the street. But I was in the corporate. But it was after I had my daughter and I realized I didn't want to be that person in a very toxic male environment corporate setting anymore. So I got certified as a Pilates instructor and I really enjoyed doing it. But it really was only after I had breast cancer in 2015 that my whole focus changed into not just aesthetic and to sort of make someone look good, but really to help them move. Because when I went through breast cancer at 43 years old, I felt like I was 73 years old because the chemotherapy made my joints ache. Let me give you an example. I couldn't get off the floor unassisted. I couldn't flip onto my knees to get off because any pressure on my knees hurts so much. So then I realized at 43, oh my God, this is what it feels like to be old. So when I had the opportunity to open a Pilates studio near where I lived, I jumped at the chance. And that's how the journey started to help women, not just breast cancer women, but women in that 40 plus age group, which is where I was at the time, to just help them feel stronger because I realized a lot of women were not doing the right kind of exercise, too much cardio, not a lot of strength training in
Right.
order to support their aging.
Right. And I know, I mean, I've known you for a long time now, and I know what you created and what you achieved with your Pilates and strength training business. And you've changed so many people's lives unbelievably, which and a lot have been inspired by not only your story, but the story of other people you've helped as well. So clearly fitness was a major passion for you, and exercise in general, and supporting women when they were doing things that weren't going to be as beneficial for them, especially as they're aging. And you mentioned that was in 2015. You developed an incredible business with your family. And then you went through another major upheaval, which is, or change, I should say, not upheaval, change quite recently. Tell us about that and where that has led you to now.
Well, after living in Singapore for 25 years, and I'm married to a Brit, and my daughters are British, and our conversation was our children will be going to university in the UK, and we decided that's where we wanted to live because we're really tight as a family. So in July 2025, we left the four of us, a dog and two cats. We left Singapore after 25 years and moved to London, UK. And I sold my Pilates business to people I believed would continue with my message and in working with women. And I was quite sad to see it go, but really very much focused on the next chapter of my life. The one thing I knew, however, I was also going through, because at the age of 43 with cancer, I went through early menopause. And, at 43 years old, when you're going through all the symptoms, I realized that, gosh, so many of my friends and peers are also going through menopause. And menopause was what I love is that it was being talked about so much in the UK. I mean, really, you can't cross a corner, cross a street, or without someone mentioning menopause. But there was always from an HRT or medical point of view. I was certified last year. Part of my journey of self discovery was I'm certified as a neuroencoding practitioner, which means that I really help people with their minds so that they default to choosing the best selves in order to get what they want. Because even working with women for 20 odd years, I would help them. They come in, they work out, they do this, they get their thing, and then something happens. There's always something that happens because it's life. Whether they get ill, they go on holiday, their kids need them, or a personal thing, and then everything falls, and their brains are the ones that are making them spin and spiral, that they then put themselves last. So I realized all my 20 years of helping women, the one thing I couldn't get through to them with was this. So now with my neuroencoding technique, I can, and I do it on myself. And I'm that prime example of someone who I can spiral out of control, but when I do my technique, I just literally I snap myself out of it and then I just get on. It's like not important, it's done, I can get on with it. So I thought with all the women out there in menopause who are spiraling, who are going through, maybe it doesn't matter that you're going through menopause because it's happening. It's just happening. But what are you going to do about it? And that's where I really wanted to get to them.
As you said, you've had a long journey supporting and empowering and helping women to get amazing results with their health and fitness and take control back in their lives. But as you said, this is one of those things which is out, it's very much inside of them in terms of the menopause symptoms, whether it's pre, peri, or during, but it isn't something that they're necessarily taught how to control or how to manage and what to do with it. So I love that you've followed your plan and that you're back in the UK with an amazingly tight family, which is amazing. You talked about your neuroencoding and how you've been using that specifically to help yourself and others. And that's one thing I love about you. You've always been someone who walks the talk. You know, you don't come from a theory background. This is definitely things that you've applied in your own life. You've had great successes with. And that's part of why you're so inspired to make and support other women to have similar results, which can be life-changing, quite frankly, in terms of the symptoms. So talk to us now about the menopause mind and how you've used not only your neuroencoding skills and your skills as a coach, because they're phenomenal, by the way, your ability to communicate and inspire, but also empathize with people too. So it comes from a place of love and care is quite unique. So tell us more about that now and why this part of your development is so passionate for you.
So I knew that I wanted to reach as many women as I could, and to do that would be via online. Then I dug a little bit. So with the menopause mind, essentially what it is when I meet a person or one-on-one or group training, it's really to get them to list out, what it is that's holding them back. However, I'm such a positive person. I really am. I'm like your quintessential optimist. We always dwell on the negatives, on why this isn't good enough, why that isn't good enough, or I'm going to HRT, my bones hurt, I'm gaining weight, I'm not sleeping well. All of this does affect us. However, there is something you can always do about it. And so when I work with someone, I want them to see that actually the actions you take can lead towards results that you want. But you do have to take action, and you do have to have a plan, and you do have to be consistent with it, because a lot of people give up. So as a coach, I'll be there to help them. If you want to achieve better sleep, I mean, that's the big thing, right? And if you don't sleep well, the whole day is ruined. So there are ways, and I created this PDF. It's called the 2:17 a.m. wake up. Because one day I woke up at 2:17 and I was like, and there are methods. And now I used to sit there lying in bed, tossing and turning. And now I have a method to get myself to sleep again. And it's all using neuroencoding. So there are ways, but then what I find a lot of women they go, oh, woe is me, life is sucks. And then they meet other people and Facebook groups where everyone talks about negative, 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 negative. And you end up being with other people who are just like, isn't this awful? Menopause sucks. And HRT or no HRT. There's this whole HRT debate happening on social media. So I want to say, you know what, let's push all that noise aside. Let's see what do you want? Do you want that promotion at work, but you feel that some other younger person, a man or a woman in her 20s, is going to get it because you're considered old? What can we do about that? So I want women to feel like at this age that they're at, and I say this age meaning the average age of menopause is 51, but you do get younger women and of course older women that are in menopause. But when you're 51 years old and I'm 53 years old, you have suddenly reached a turning point in your life where actually if you are a mother, your kids don't really need you anymore,
Right.
and your husband's in his career, and you're sort of sitting there going, what do I do? If you're in a job, you go, well, actually, now I've got the capacity to give more because I don't have to pick them up from daycare. And my and I've got more. Mostly, I think it's mostly children. You don't have that. How should I put it in the nicest possible way? They're holding you back. Okay. If you don't have that, suddenly be like, I'm ready to go. The old days, like our mums were probably retired at like 55, 60, right? And now even the retiring age is 65. But if you are that person who goes, oh my God, I'm not ready to retire. I have so much to give. And you've developed all these decades, and I'm not talking years, I'm talking decades of knowledge and experience. And you are ready to just take it to the next level. However, all this self-confidence is holding you back, because what menopause can do to you, it messes with the mind, that makes you feel irrelevant, makes you feel like you've got nothing to give, makes you feel old, dowdy, you're in pain, you're not sleeping well. So as a result, you end up closing in on yourself, and then you end up going, maybe I should just quit. But you don't really want to quit. So when I work with women and also companies, I'll talk about companies in a minute, but with women, I want to kind of open their eyes and go, okay, you're 51. So what? Do you want to give up now? If you do, fine, that's entirely your prerogative. But if you don't, and you think for the next 10 or 20 years you can do so much more and achieve the start of your business or whatever it is you want to do, let's get that mind ready to sort of motorize you into getting into that path that you want. Because when you get your mind on side with you, and your mind is like that loyal Labrador puppy, it will do whatever it is you want it to do. If you want it to be sad, it'll be sad with you. If you want it to be happy and you're a cheerleader, it will be that for you. But it starts with you. You've got the power to turn your mind into the biggest cheerleader and mind coach that will take you to exactly where you want to be. So that's how I work with one-on-one women.
It's fantastic. And, I think so many things you mentioned there. I mean, dwelling on the negative, we can surround ourselves with other people who are in similar situations, which when everyone's feeling out of control, and as you said, when everyone's level of self-confidence has dropped, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in lots of ways, isn't it? We get lower and lower. I love what you said there about you need to take action. And what was a critical piece, I think, is you also mentioned you have to have a plan, because we can charge forward in one direction, but if that's not in the right direction, then we could be taking needless action or the wrong action in some ways. I know you mentioned the PDF that you created, which I had a look at too, by the way, and loved it. Couldn't believe how many words I knew started with the letter D. Being 55, I do have the old 3 a.m. wake up as well, so that was fun doing that the other morning when I had my 3 a.m. But that's what I love as well, is this isn't just, you're not just talking about theory, or these are things, this is how you should feel, or this is what we should do. You actually give people tools, don't you? There's specific tools which they can use, they can apply, and they can apply it for the rest of their life if they need to, in terms of overcoming these challenges. So not only do you provide years and years of experience as a coach, but you also provide those specific tools that can help to change women's lives. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So this method, this one thing that I absolutely love, I call it the stop method. Yes. Imagine something's happened to derail you. And that happens pretty much all the time, right? And you start going down that dark rabbit hole of, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't do this. This method is basically an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming method, to stop you. And what it does is it jars you into this suddenly like, like, that cartoon where it goes and something like that happens, but it's called a scotoma. So now there's this blank space in your brain, which needs to be filled up. And if you fill it up with negativity, then you're going to spiral down that negativity. Let me give you an example, a specific example. Say, you're watching something on the computer and you go, oh, that's really interesting. Oh gosh, I just need to get my phone so I can put the details in, but my phone's in the kitchen. I'll have to get up. So you get up, you walk to the kitchen, you go and you suddenly go, what did I, hang on, what am I here? What did I want? And you forget why you came. And that happens to everybody. So when that happens, suddenly, because you have changed your state by getting up, moving into another room, and by breaking that state, your brain now has a scotoma, which is a vacuum, a space. And you can fill that up with a negativity, which would be you go and you go like, oh God, I'm getting old again. And this brain fog. Oh, I'm so stupid, which is a negative thought. Then your brain keeps going, God, I am stupid. And that spirals. However, you can also fill it up with a method to go, you can laugh and go, oh my God, like, oh, silly me. And I'm sure it'll come to me later. That act of smiling, that act of just laughing it off, your brain then goes, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh my God, we're happy. That's great. And you associate positivity versus negativity. So with the stop technique, when I do it, for example, in my 217, you wake up and you go, oh God, I can't sleep. And I know I'm going to that spiral. I do my stop technique, which for me is I go, stop. I pump my fist and I pat myself on the back. And in my sleep, it might be like that. But my brain's gone, oh, that's the trigger. That's the trigger to feel good. That's the trigger to stop worrying, because it's all about that trigger. So when I have that trigger, I'm then able to stop that negative feeling and instead go, oh, okay, what do I do about this? And my 2:17 a.m. trick is I have a word. I choose any word in the world, say kitchen, because I'm in my kitchen. And with the letter K, I think of random words that start with K, knife, kite. I mean, you can't really think about it. Then it goes to the next word, I, and you go indigo, invincible, ice cream. The point is to let your brain do something, but not where you have to really think about it. And the next thing you know, you've drifted off to sleep. And once you finish the word kitchen, you can choose another word. Is to give your brain something to do, but not to make you spiral, because there's nothing worse than waking up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then that's when the dark thoughts start coming in. So with the stop technique, I teach people, and the first time I learned the stop technique, I was in a hotel in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and I woke up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I remembered, oh, I learned that stop technique, and I did that stop technique, and I went to sleep just like that.
Wow.
And another example of when I used the stop technique, I was going skiing with my family, and I'm not a good skier at all, and I was quite nervous about it. So I primed myself, and priming myself is what I also teach my clients to do. You have this whole priming process. But as we were on the chairlift with my family, and I was feeling anxious again, and then I did my stop. I did that. And then my oldest daughter turned and looked at me and she went, what's wrong with mummy? And my husband, don't worry, she's just doing her process. She's fine. And I got that chairlift going, cool. Oh my God, this is really exciting. And I kid you not, I had the best ski ever. I fell down still, but I got up and went, that's cool. And I kept going. Whereas if I hadn't done that stop technique, I'd have got to the top and going, oh God, this is going to be the worst skiing ever. And it would have been the worst skiing ever. I would have still fallen down, but I've been like, oh, Ali, you're so stupid. Why can't you just do it? Instead of going, stop. Yes, cool. Keep going. Oh my God, that's funny. And have a bit of a laugh about it and go, I got to get down anyway. I'm going to get down. But oh my God, look how beautiful this is. You know, you just change how you think about things.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest technique that I used. I love using this technique because it really does stop. Kind of like when you get that, you know, when someone panics in the movie and they get that slap on the face,
Right.
and that's that scotoma. That's that. They've suddenly stopped. You've broken their pattern. They've suddenly gone like that, and you fill it up. And that's when that hero, the guy in the movie goes, slaps you and goes, don't do that. You can do this. You can do that. And then the hero goes, yes, I can. Yes, I can. They believe in themselves again. So my job is to teach you how to give yourself that, not a slap, but to stop that spiral.
I love it. I mean, that's just so powerful. I think anyone watching and listening to this right now who's going through menopause or andropause, as the case may be, worth re-listening to that again. You talked about stopping that spiral and not letting people go down that dark path. Now, this often happens early in the morning when we're in the wee hours, no one else up, and our mind does go crazy. But it also happens at other times as well, doesn't it? I mean, I'm thinking that 50 odd-ish, could be 45, could be 50, could be 55-year-old woman or even younger or older, they're in the workplace, or they're in their lifestyle, or their personal lives, and these thoughts start to come in, and which is so challenging for someone who's been so successful and so capable. You've raised kids, you've created a career, you've done so many things, which, let's be honest, more challenging for women because there's just more responsibility and blocks put in the way. So there's ways that they can use these techniques even during everyday life, but work life, family life as well, right?
Absolutely. So, for example, say at work, something happens that jars you. And I always call it the jarring moment where you're feeling nervous. Say you've got to give a presentation and you know that this would determine whether you get the promotion or how others perceive you. And you're so nervous about it. You can quietly do that stop technique and you prime yourself before even entering that meeting. And I will teach you how to prime yourself as well, where you get, the thoughts and emotions, and you say these things and words and pictures in your head, and where you even visualize yourself doing that presentation and what you achieve out of it. You know, you I will prime you so that you will even go through this whole thing before you enter that room, so you see the outcome that you want. And then when you're feeling nervous, you stop, you do that, whatever the technique, to then get you, okay, I'm ready to go. And when you present it differently, right? I always say it's not like there's a magic genie in a lamp, you rub it and your dreams come true. But when you do these steps, because you mentioned it earlier, you have to take action. But it's the right sort of action that will lead to the results that you want. So when you are able to take these actions and you're able to present, I'm using that presentation example again, you're giving that presentation and you stand differently because you've gone through this process and you see yourself doing it amazingly well and you get the result that you want, versus, gosh, I've forgotten, it's just my brain fog again, and they're two different people. Same person, but two completely different methods of actually standing there. So I want to get that 50-year-old woman who's lost her confidence, who's worried about her job, who's worried about her relationships because she doesn't look as attractive as she did before, to not, again, no magic wand's going to make you suddenly look like Heidi Klum or Cindy Crawford or something. However, you can take the actions in order to feel better, move better, feel more confident. Because internally, when you feel something, externally, you can portray yourself differently to get the results that you want. I always talk about the results that you want. Because as humans, I mentioned you want to be wealthy. Now, wealthy doesn't just mean financially, but that is one of the components. You want to have the money that you need in order to have the life that you need and to give the life that you want to the people you love.
Right.
You want to be healthy, right? Because if you're not healthy, what's the point of having all the money in the world if you're not going to live and be able to physically enjoy it? And then also to be happy. Those are the three main things. As human beings, we want to be healthy, happy, and have the means to do what we want. So we break it down simplistically into that, but you have to take action to do it.
Well, and you mentioned something there as well, where, I mean, taking the right action, absolutely. But there's so much confusion out there, isn't there? Because a lot of women are either told, or in marketing that they see, or whatever the information gets them, that there's HRT, there's HRT, or there's nothing, and that's it. That's your choice. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, really, in a lot of these scenarios. But what I'm hearing you say is that HRT might be part of your solution because everyone reacts differently, or it might not. That's not the issue. The issue is what can you do? What can you do as a woman who is having these symptoms and feeling like their life is spiraling out of control, that there's things that they can do, which sounds very simple. I mean, listening to you, and there's simple things in a way, but they're not easy. And unless you know all the steps to it, I could see where this could go wrong, which is where they also need someone who understands, right? Women typically don't all chat about these things other than say, oh, well, geez, I was up at 2 a.m. again. And, other women go, yeah, well, I hear you. And then that's about it. But when they have someone like yourself who not only understands it personally, but also understands what's happening. So you can then just not talk about symptoms. You can talk about, well, why is that trigger happening, as you mentioned? How can we adjust that trigger? How we can create a different scotoma? I imagine through going through these techniques that those triggers become massively minimized, and some may even go away altogether, which is where having that the action, but the right action and a plan. And like everything in life, right, as you said it, you've got to take action, but you need accountability too. Otherwise, we can let these things drift, can't we? It works, but then we stop doing it for whatever reason, and now we're back to where we were before. So is that part of what I know you work with individuals in terms of one-on-one, which is hugely beneficial for that woman feeling completely isolated. And then you also work with companies as well in more group situations too. So is that part of what you do, is creating that accountability, creating that support, obviously a very caring and safe environment? Is that part of the solution that you provide?
It is. I've been working with women for 20 years now. When they buy, I'll use my old studio, for example. And I've listened to women for 20 years. As a trainer, you have that, you're nearly a therapist in a way, right? They love to talk because they know they can talk to you. They know that it's safe because you're looking after them physically. When the package stops and they don't come anymore, that's when the problems start. So you do need the accountability, and that's why people like me exist, right? But more so with me, because I've had that lived experience, and I also use nutrition and also physical activity, and I'm also a sleep and stress recovery coach, because all these things happen. And when you are that safe place that someone can talk to, who is not going to judge, who is not going to also tell you what to do, because it all comes from you. You've got to come up with the solutions yourself so that I can support you, but I also hold you accountable. So little things like sending a message, how's it going? Did you do that? Tell me what your plan is today. But not in a threatening way, not in a you've got to tell me what's going on. But that woman, I want that woman to feel with me that she can contact me and go, oh my God, Ali, I'm spiraling right now. I've got to do this and I don't want to do it. And I could jump on the call and go, okay, let's work for the 5 minutes. Let's do the stop technique now. So you're ready. I know your presentation's waiting right now. Let's do this right now. So you are going to go in there and smash it. But what's also interesting with companies, and this is where I'm really excited as well, is that companies need now realizing that they have to support women in menopause. They just have to. If nothing else, it's become the hot topic right now. And in the UK, the Menopause Action Plan is starting in April 2026, where companies have to have a Menopause Action Plan, but it's mandatory from April 2027. So you need to be a company that supports women, also is supporting managers, say like men, to understand that this is what's happening with women. And you kind of think everyone should, right? Everyone should know what's going on. But the reality is they don't. Or they kind of do, but they don't know how to deal with it. When a woman starts talking about periods, it's like, la, 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 la. Oh my God, I'm feeling funny again. Oh, God forbid we talk about that. Then men have no idea how to act. Or younger women don't have the empathy, but they will get there one day to also serve women. And when you're able to go into a company and offer these services, that I can help train your managers, and then also workshops, and then for the women that need it, and we do it through confidential questionnaires. If we flag that this person probably needs more help, then I could have like a 4-week coaching session with them. But if a company then knows that their top talent, say that the women that have spent decades or have these decades of experience and knowledge and things that they can share with everyone else, if these women end up spiraling out of control and they go, this is just too much, I'm going to quit. And this is happening right now in the UK and all around the world, where women just can't cope. So they go, that's it, I can't work, I'm going to quit. Or they need to take time off because it's just too much. They can't handle what's happening to their bodies. But it costs so much. It costs about 150 to 200% of a woman's annual salary to replace her, not just a woman, a man as well. It's so expensive to replace people. So why replace someone when you can support them and make them thrive and excel, that benefits them and the company and the people they work for? And then also you'd be that company that people go, wow, they are menopause friendly. Look at what they're doing. And you could pave the way and lead the way to be a company of choice that supports, you have your DEI, diversity, inclusivity and stuff, but also the one section of it could be the women in menopause. And that's really critical right now, right? Because a lot of women are being dismissed unfairly. Menopause is not a disability, but the effects that we have can be considered and are considered disabilities. So if a woman is dismissed because of a disability, hello, that's going to be trouble for your company, because then she can start going to court and suing you. So you've got to make sure as a company you have done, it's your duty of care to your staff to make sure that you are providing them with all the tools they need to help them, right? Nobody wants to ever battle it out anywhere else, but it's your duty of care to support all your employees through whatever they're going through. And one of the tools is the training, the workshops in menopause, and also providing coaching, accountability for your staff members that really need it.
Look, and it's very real right now. It's just at April of this year, so only a couple of months. You mentioned something there as well, and I know from my experience, sleep deprivation is the best torture to get people to break down, and so they use it in the military and everything else. So for that woman who's been sleep deprived for so long, it must be incredibly difficult for them to even turn up and be productive at work. So I know you said there's some unfair dismissals potentially for people who don't get ahead of the game with this and actually implement strategies and tools like the ones you can deliver. But they're also missing out on a lot of performance, aren't they, from their existing staff members? If they were just to help them to fix these challenges they're going through, then each individual employee's performance is going to go through the roof. And therefore, those companies that are thriving will be even more profitable. And for those who are maybe not doing as well, that could be part of it too, right? Because it's a diminished productivity from the general workforce of which, these women are a part of it. So I love what you mentioned there, because it's a duty of care, and care is the word. Like if you should care about your staff members. Yes, your business is there to make profit, but these are people too. And if you care about them, and specifically in this case, these women, they will be super loyal. I couldn't imagine if they brought you in and you help these women to overcome their symptoms, to develop techniques, to use these strategies and feel supported doing it all the way through. And they would never leave that company, and they would be raving about it and the whole productivity and then the whole company, and then everything gets better for that company who took that action. Is that right?
Absolutely. And these women as well then serve as mentors to the people under them, right? So there's a cycle of, you want a company where you have the best people in it and they grow within the company, the loyalty grows, then the cycle continues, and they then mentor the younger people under them, and it can benefit a company greatly to do this. And you mentioned that productivity and sleep. I mean, I know personally, I like to use simple concepts here. I do the Wordle every single day. Do you know what the Wordle is, Rick?
I don't.
5 letters. Yeah. So it started in COVID. Basically, you have to choose a word, 5 letters. It's like a tiny little word puzzle.
Okay.
And normally, when I have a good night's sleep, I do it in less than 5 minutes. But when I've had a bad night's sleep, I literally sit there. I can't think. And it's a simple word puzzle. So
Right.
Can you imagine women that have to make big decisions, financial decisions or legal, say they're lawyers and they miss something. Can you imagine the repercussions of not having a rested brain that's working on all cylinders for a company, right? I mean, we're not even talking about life in general. We're talking about just work here. You are just not at your best.
And these women would know it. They would feel it, right? Which again, then reinforces that maybe they're not doing a good enough job. And because they've been such high achievers, as you mentioned earlier, that seems to be why a lot of women retire early. Nothing to do with their desire to keep working. And so the company loses, they lose all that experience and the massive cost of that turnover, hundreds of thousands of pounds. But also it then affects morale and the whole team structure, doesn't it? Because as you said, they're losing someone who could be empowering those who are coming, the managers and even below them, rather than the opposite, which is this sort of continual churn. I think when I've looked at this previously, they talk about you get a job because you need money, but you stay in that job because of the recognition and the care. And that's what keeps you in. And I don't think there's been ever a time in history when that's not. It's more the case now than ever. It's not getting a job and staying there for 45, 50 years and then you get your gold watch and you're happy. I mean, that just very rarely happens these days, doesn't it? So even from a retention standpoint, even if that woman doesn't retire, the risk of them going somewhere else or jumping ship for whatever reason, or going into more of a part-time role or doing consulting or whatever it might be, then there's a huge cost to that. So it seems to me as though this is a complete no-brainer for companies. I mean, there's a law which is being passed and that starts in April 2026 and will be very, very much formally imposed in 2027. Regardless of the legal ramifications, you would think that every smart business owner or team of board of directors or company owners would be looking at this as an amazing opportunity. I mean, you talked about the negative or the positive in our spirals. This is the same thing, right? It's just going to be a hassle. No, this could be amazing. And you keep these incredible women with these amazing experiences, you said, these wonderful business traits and incredible knowledge and nous, and you keep them working in your firm for longer at a much higher level of productivity. They feel cared for and supported and recognized, and your business gets a reputation as exactly that. I mean, that in and of itself just seems like a hugely positive investment.
I think it does, and there are certain companies that are definitely leading the way. If I'll name a company on hand, Standard Chartered Bank, I not just in the UK, but I think in Asia, they are definitely leading the way there. And but why am I not hearing about other companies? Why am I not hearing about other companies who are out there as well? So they've got to step up. They've got to do something about this because other companies are going to start overtaking them. And if I were a woman, if I was working in bank, I'd be like, I want to work with Standard Chartered. They get me. And they're showing that they are supporting me as well as all the other segments of working society. So as a company, you can't not do this. You just have to. And what I think they are coming around to it. And it doesn't have to be complex either. Start simple, and then as it evolves, go, oh yeah, we need that. Oh, let's tweak it. That's you can't go in. I can go in with like, okay, this is the plan. Let's just do it. And it probably might start like that. But then as I get to know the company better and we get to know what they need, the plan's going to change. And that's okay. That's how life is. That's how work is. But companies have to step up. They have to start supporting women because it is so in the news right now. And I'm very fortunate living in the UK that this is what is being talked about all the time. But because my roots are also in Malaysia, Australia, and also Singapore, having lived there for 25 years, and I know the communities there really well, I will work internationally with companies that need this too. In my mind, like UK is running so far ahead, but there's still so much. Oh my God, there's still so much there to be done. I can only imagine what other countries haven't really thought about this. Can you imagine if you're the first company in one of the main companies in, say, Kuala Lumpur, and you're at the forefront of this, and especially in, say, a country like Malaysia, where maybe they don't want to talk about Asia, really, they don't really want to talk about menopause. It's not something they want to talk about much. Can you imagine talking about it? And things are changing. The tide is changing. I'm really excited to be part of this, actually. And I'm 53 years old, and I'm going to be a part of it for the next 20 years. And that's really exciting.
Oh, I love it. I mean, your passion is just palpable, and you're inspiring people. I'm sure just from even listening to this. That being said, we need to take action, right? And we need to take the right action, have the right plan, have the right support to implement it. So it's been wonderful talking with you today. It really has, and the difference and change you're making in women's lives, which then affect everything else, right? It affects their relationships, it affects their roles as parents, their roles as children themselves with elderly parents. I mean, it's such an incredible thing you do. How can individual women who recognize that they really need and want your help, and also those corporations who are thinking this sounds like a really smart thing to do, how can they contact you, and how can they use this incredible amount of knowledge that you have?
Well, I'm all over social media, but I think possibly the easiest way to get in touch with me would be either by Instagram or LinkedIn. Instagram handle is Reclaim with Ali. So find me at Ali Khairuddin, exactly ALY. The Khairuddin's quite hard to spell, so I definitely have to write that one down for you. But my website is also called reclaimglobal.co.uk, one word. So you can find me in all those ways.
Well, I love it. And look, if you're a woman going through any type of menopausal symptoms at the moment, I can't stress to you enough. Reach out to Ali. It'll be the best thing you've ever done. She's an incredible coach. And just speaking to someone who understands is in of itself a game changer. But then with the skills and tools that she can provide you, you look back at it as the most transformational thing you've done in your life. And for those companies who are watching this, or people who are thinking about sharing it with their companies, look, get ahead of the curve. Be that innovator. Be that company that really does look after your team and your staff, and shows them just how much you do care. Your business will be changed forever, and you'll be seen as a shining light within your industry and within the wider concept of the global industry as well. So, Ali, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a super busy woman. It's always incredible information. You inspire so many. You've inspired me again today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. The one thing I would tell everyone to do right now, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do, when you're bleary-eyed, you go to the mirror because you're going to brush your teeth, right? You look in the mirror, you look at yourself in the eyes, and you just smile at yourself. And if you want to take it a step further, you just say, "Hey, Ali, I love you," or "You got this." That whole positive thing first thing in the morning, your brain will go like, "Whoa!" So smile and celebrate. That's what it's all about, guys.
Often that mirror is not our favorite thing. So that's a great way of changing it. Shifts the whole thing, as you've been saying all along.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Ali. It's absolutely wonderful. We really
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
your time. We'll speak to you again soon.
Cool. Thank you.